What's up guys, Blade Master here with quite the interesting Total War Rome 2 Blade Balance battle. This is not fought in the super secret alpha Blade Balance. There's no crazy general abilities on display here, but it's going to be a crazy match. Because I'm fighting up against Diplomat. Yes, it is a fight between the two founders of the Wolf Clan. After a while, um, I asked Diplomat to play a 1v1. I was like, yeah, let's play it in Blade Balance. And he was like, okay, I've joined TeamSpeak. So I was all, I hop up all, happy and stuff. I haven't talked to Diplomat in a long time. But in true Diplomat fashion, he begins with a soft little cheeky kick to the nads saying, mate, you haven't really balanced Blade Balance. The mod really doesn't do much. It makes a bunch of small minor changes to unnecessary units and unnecessary factions, but it doesn't address the main imbalance. Now, what the main imbalance is, in my opinion, I thought that was the fact that sword spamming factions would always reign supreme, and it was just too easy for them to kill off enemy armies, and it was too easy to get bogged down and overwhelmed by a sword spam. So after a bit of back and forth bickering, I told him, you know what? Why don't you just pick one of those patch 14, patch 13 armies? Because he said that Boii in pre Emperor edition would fare about the same as a Macedon build, which was all the rage back then. Macedon, Carthage and stuff. So I was like, okay, you bring Boii, bring up one of those Boii armies that you would have brought so many months ago, and I would bring a Macedon build in Blade Balance that I think is a suitable answer to something that any Boii player would bring. So let's take a look at the armies with that in mind. I've gone super tryhard, he's gone super tryhard. So this is going to be one of those tryhard battles, but it's a lot of fun. I should mention that Diplomat apparently didn't turn on debug cam, so for people who are used to the debug cam, that's a huge disadvantage. But either ways, he has quote-unquote a massive advantage with the Boii. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Celtic warriors from his front line. Behind them, he's got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sword followers. Finally, he's got 3 Celtic bowmen who have 150 range, along with my archers who have 150 range, so they're trading pretty evenly. Brought a total of 4 heavy horse and 1 Otso. On the other hand, I've brought a total of 3 levy pikemen, 3 pikemen, and 1 foot companions general. A couple of Aspis companion cav, a total of 4 Thessalian cav, I believe. Yeah, 4 Thessalian cav with 2 mercenary Thracian warriors on the flanks. This is a build that I was inspired to bring by after getting my ass handed to myself by Petrucci Ibiza, who's on YouTube. That's his name on YouTube. But anyways, I'm going to charge in with the Thessalian cav and then bring in my levy pikemen and then immediately bring in my mercenary Thracian warriors as well. And here I pulled back my Aspis companion cav after trying to charge into his sword followers so that his heavy horse would charge right into the front of my levy pikes. Here his sword followers have taken a shit ton of damage from levy pikes 5 kills, mercenary Thracian warriors 32 kills. And now I'm just circling around my Thessalian cav, trying to intercept his heavy horse, and then bringing my mercenary Thracian warriors immediately to help support. You can see I've got attack orders with my mercenary Thracian warriors. He's also bringing a sword follower there, but because of the high charge and the bonus versus large that mercenary Thracian warriors have, it should sort of even out. Here coming in with an Aspis companion cav, almost charged into his Celtic bowman, but instead decided to rear charge his heavy horse and his sword followers. I want to destroy the flanks as much as possible. That is the one way you'll lose with a lot of pikes. If your flanks get overwhelmed, then you get surrounded. So Thessalian cav got a clean charge onto heavy horse. Heavy horse have lost 5 health, making them slightly worse. But I think it balances things out. Mercenary Thracian warriors about to get a single XP share run because they were used in that flank support role. Coming in with a Thessalian cav charging into his Celtic warriors. Here, Aspis companion cav rear charging a sword follower, killing it off. Levy pikemen 51 kills because they were engaged with sword followers from the front. I killed off some of his Celtic bows, but he is sort of winning the skirmish battle now. I don't really know how. The pikemen here, 76 kills against sword followers. Of course, they're going to do well against sword followers up in front. My Thessalian cav with 26 bad has routed, but so has his heavy horse at this point. He is starting to overwhelm with the sword follower and the Celtic warrior, which is why I pulled back my Aspis companion cav, and now I'm going to come in with a second charge. His Celtic warriors at the very least should waver or rout from that. On the far side, I'm coming in with an Aspis companion cav, charging into his Celtic warriors, doing a shit ton of damage, 40 kills, and then pulling back so that my pikemen show up and then help support. Pikemen there, 133 kills. Now I'm sort of moving away my pike line, not forming a cohesive line, which is not a good idea. But I'm trying to push my go on the offensive against that Boii army because he won kind of the skirmish fight. Charging in against heavy horse, whatever remains of the heavy horse, 25 men there with them. My Aspis companion cav, 68 men left, 107 kills. Still no XP chevron though. Here, far side, charging in with the Thessalian cav, hitting the rear of his sword followers. And here, my Aspis companion cav, I'm forced to engage with his heavy horse so that they don't come into the rear of my pikes. Still pulling away with all my... Let me just put this in slow motion. Now, I'm charging in with my foot companions. They haven't done anything in the battle so far. Most of the battle has been fought on the flanks. Heavy horse down to 10 men. Thessalian cav got a rear charge on them and getting some kills on the Celtic warriors as well. Your Celtic warrior and a sword follower at around half strength each still remain, which is a big threat, but I have just the tool to deal with that threat by Aspis companion cav. Pushing up with my foot companions, I'm trying to turn around with my levy pikemen, catch some of his Celtic warriors, but the damage has been done. They have only 35 morale. I reduced their morale, if I recall correctly, to make up for the fact that they can turn quicker, so that people won't exploit pikes that way. This pikeman fighting up in front with sword followers. Sword followers will lose that battle extensively any day, every day of the week. Mercenary Thracian warriors here, about to get a single XP chevron. Again, no point in using Thracian warriors in any role except for the flank support. On the other side, my Aspis companion cav charging a Celtic warrior and a sword follower into oblivion. They're getting so many kills off the charge because of that very heavy mass. His Oathstone general now finally coming into the picture. I issued attack orders with my pikemen against his Oathstone, but they're reforming now. There's a big threat of me losing my flank here. My Aspis companion cav losing a lot of men now because the sword follower is just pure offense. Their melee damage and their melee attack combined. But these little pockets where my Thracian warriors are engaged with his sword followers, with his couple of sword followers, is a perfect angle for me to just charge in with my Thessalian cav. This Thessalian cav killing off a Celtic warrior, and it looks like I've lost my other Aspis companion cav is here, 72 men. They're going to be such a massive threat, especially when pikemen are there to support. So they're going to crash through my pikemen and hit a lot of the Celtic warriors on the charge. And I really like this Macedon build. In fact, I'll show you guys another battle that I fought against Celts, where this build just excels. The Thessalian cav here, one of the big reasons why this build works is because of the Thessalian cav. They're going to charge in, smash the sword followers, get a shit ton of kills on the charge. I think, maybe at least like 10 kills, I would assume. And then I'm going to pull back with them. That's the increased mass of all cavalry coming into play. Especially in late game against damaged units, those cavalry are going to be absolutely crucial. This Aspis companion cav killing off the rest of his Celtic bowmen, who've done decently, have gotten a bunch of kills. Now again charging in with an Aspis companion cav, making sure his Celtic warriors die. And here his Oathstone is in danger of just getting, pike blended. But I have to somewhat form kind of a weird reverse box because I need to, make sure his Celtic warriors don't come in the way. So here my regular pikemen are going to engage against the Celtic warriors, but he's going to come in with an Oathstone. But that means I can push in with this pikeman, which has already gotten a double XP chevron. And here my Thessalian cav got a second charge against the sword follower. Now you can see how badly damaged those sword followers are. They got destroyed on the second charge. And here Aspis companion cav again cleaning up house. And now he's trying to pull away with his Celtic warriors, but again, that's why this build from Macedon, and that's why I think Macedon as a faction can be so incredibly damaging to a Boii army if used properly. The Aspis companion cav, just excellent anti-infantry tools, and because they're cav, they're quick enough to catch enemy retreating infantry retreating from their pikes. Here, pikemen, trying to poke at these Oathstone, they're losing a lot of men, and I'm coming in with my foot companions, dropping pike phalanx on them, and even though he's using headhunt, it looks like it's too little too late. So, yeah, the massive sword spam doesn't work against Macedon, and that is to be expected. The pikes are higher in number. This is played in ultra unit size, so they have 200, while the average sword unit has 160. So they have more units, they are greater in number. And for a faction like Macedon or Carthage or Syracuse, it is definitely possible for them to defeat a Boii army. Especially even a Boii army as try hard is this? Let's admit this is pretty try hard. 6 sword followers, 6 Celtic warriors, not a Levy Freeman. Oh, I guess you can't really call it try hard since there are no Levy Freeman. Maybe too many Celtic warriors. I would have preferred to see maybe another Oathstone. I think that's another mistake that people tend to make. They value mid tiers and cheap low tiers so much that they forget to bring some elite tiers to provide that encourage bonus and the morale and just the sheer brutality of the Oathstone. If he brought an Oathstone and crushed my flanks, then this game would have been as good as over. There's a reason why I like to keep a max 6 Pike rule, and there's also a reason why I like to. So the argument started that a game is not proper. The hypothesis that Diplomat had was that a game is not properly balanced, or Rome 2 is not properly balanced unless you can bring whatever you want. If there are rules in any game or in any tournament, then it's a clear sign that the game is not balanced. And I agree to an extent, but you cannot expect complete balance in a game like Rome 2 with its huge amount of factions and the diverse playstyles that go on. Because just like, it's just the design of Rome 2 that some factions will counter some factions. Some units will counter. There's a difference between units countering units and factions countering factions. Some factions are just perfectly capable of dealing with other factions. A Macedon Pike build in vanilla Rome 2 would not be able to beat a Boii build. That is imbalance, because a Macedon Pike build, pikes are supposed to deal with swords. That's the way the game originally was working. The pikes would destroy swords up in front, and then you'd bring skirmishers to deal with the pikes and stuff like that. It's returned back to back to that in Blade Balance. And since I made Pike stronger, I also added some weaknesses, like giving them a lower missile block chance. So you can see that he won the skirmish battle here. If he actually decided to bring more skirmishers, he could have very easily killed off a lot of my pikemen. But that is easier said than done. I mean, yeah, easier said than done, because the real threat of a Macedon build like this lies in this incredibly deadly combination of Thessalian Cav and Aspis Companion Cav. And of course, the mercenary Thracian warriors. Cannot discount these guys. After the charge, the Thessalian Cav won't do anything to heavy horse, so you need something like a mercenary Thracian warrior to help support. Which is why I would not be reducing the price of the mercenary Thracian warriors. They stay at 500 because, along with the Pike, with a traditional army from Macedon, let's call it that, which is going to be Pike reliant, it is so critical to bring Thracian warriors, and they perform so well that way. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this battle, and stay tuned for more. Peace.